Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. This is Josh. I'm going to be your presenter today. Uh, we're here to talk about the adjust asset transaction type in Church Windows accounting. All right, let's go into accounting here. And let's go to where we can find the adjust asset transaction is here under transactions in the upper left, and then right across the top center to the other menu. And when the menu pops up, we notice it's the second one down, adjust asset. In parentheses, it gives some indications of what this transaction might be commonly used for: deposit correction, NSF checks, stock valuation changes, etc. So that kind of already gives you a little bit of a clue as to the type of transaction that it is. And what I like to kind of make sure that folks understand about this is that folks, on your transactions this list, you're in your transactions in accounting, this is a journal entry. So the transaction type itself is a journal entry transaction. The only difference between this and a journal entry, a true journal entry, when we go up to our other menu and we see journal entry transaction here, is that the adjust asset, as described, always has one of the accounts involved in the entry as an asset account. So if I click the down arrow, we see all my accounts receivable, clients, but if we scroll down, we see all of our assets, our Huntington Bank checking, our petty cash account, our money market, our savings accounts, okay? So again, this software under the adjust asset requires that one of the accounts be an asset. When so that's going to be either the debit or the credit, depending on whether you choose increase or decrease. And then the other accounts on the bottom side of this transaction that we're going to see momentarily are going to be the other side of the transaction, which could be then either a liability, a fund, an income, or an expense, okay? So you're essentially affecting both sides of the balance sheet equally by either increasing it or decreasing it, depending on what it is you're trying to do. So as the workbook pages talks about, it says, no, those pesky transactions you have to handle, bank charges, the wrong bank account, wrong amount on a check. Okay, makes sense. The bank charges a fee for a check that is returned due to insufficient funds. You bet, absolutely. Quarterly reports show investments have gone up or down. Absolutely. An outstanding check needs to be voided, okay? And we could use the journal entry, the standard journal entry transaction too, but this transaction requires that you're either increasing or decreasing both sides of the balance sheet assets and either liabilities or fund balances as well, okay, just by rote of the association of those accounts. All right, so let's see here. What I'm looking for here is basically it talks about here choosing the assets. So let me see if I've got an example here. So a deposit correction, okay? So let's say I needed to do an adjustment for something that was misposted there. I would choose my Huntington Bank checking, and in this case I would choose decrease. Maybe I had overstated an income transaction or something, and I would put in the amount. So the example there shows 50 cents. I can make the date occurred whatever date I'm wanting in 2023 in this case. So if we notice here, I can click the down arrow and choose any date this year. And under comments, I can put in, something like deposit, correction, adjustment. And then below that, now again, folks, as a double entry fund accounting system, I have to choose another account. So when I go down here to my accounts, notice here I can choose another asset if I want, but every account in my chart of accounts then becomes available to choose. So notice I've got my vendors, my liability accounts, even when I go down into my fund balance accounts, okay? Or then when I continue even down even further, my income and my expense accounts, all right? So while this example shows bank fees, let's say I had posted something incorrectly. Logic says that should be an income account. Maybe I want to post this to whatever income account was overstated, like maybe my general tithes and offerings, okay? And then I have to re-enter the amount again. Now, whether that's to one account or split, that's up to me, all right? But now this will show when I post this, this will reflect as a withdrawal on my bank reconciliation, 50 cents, that now I can clear as part of my bank reconciliation process. So I'm going to go ahead and post that. All right. And we're not going to print it. Another example of an adjust asset, as it points there, is an NSF check. All right. So I've deposited, say, a donation check from my deposited a donation check through donations, and the bank has now notified me that that check was insufficient and it's been returned. So very similarly, I can choose my asset account, in this case my Huntington Bank checking. I can decrease it, and let's say maybe it was a $50 check as it shows, and then I was assessed, say, a $15 NSF fee. Okay, so again, I would enter the date that I had done that. Again, these types of transactions usually occur several days after the original deposit. I've made my adjustment in donations to remove that. I don't transfer that into accounting because it's not a deposit correction, it's an actual withdrawal. So I would again choose my, the date that it appears that my bank has notified me that that's occurred, and I would put in definitely detailed comments, NSF, donation check, and fee. Okay, and this is important. So let's say again, because it's income I don't no longer have, I'm going to go down and choose the 400 account that was credited when the income came in. Again, maybe my general tithes and offerings, but whatever account was originally credited. So let's say that money was given to flower income from donations, and so I would put in the $50. Okay, then I click my plus sign to the right. When the account moves down, I'll now choose something like bank fees, and I'll enter $10 or $15, excuse me. I should say it was a $15 NSF fee. And now notice my total at the I have to enter my amount to adjust at the top for 65 to balance with that. If I don't, then it won't allow me to post it. So my total at the bottom right has to equal the amount to adjust. Okay. And like I can with other transactions in the software everywhere, I can attach a document here using the file and document association, the little paperclip icon. But then when I click post, this will now reflect on my bank reconciliation as a withdrawal, and it should match my match the withdrawal date and the amount that appears on there on my bank statement. And it's not only done that, but it's now also reflected the $15 debit to my expense account for my bank fees. All right. So it credited cash for $65, essentially reducing it because I decreased it. And it also then reduced my flower income account and debited my bank fees expense account. All right. Third and final example here that we're going to use about for the adjust asset transaction is, say, a change in value in, say, a stock or maybe an investment. I want to say an investment change. Okay. So here, if I put in, say, my, Lynn Schwab investments, okay, I'm going to show that we've had an increase in that, and we've received, as it shows there, $875.22. I would again put the date in that it reflects that I'm wanting it to affect my books. Okay, maybe I want to backdate that to March 31st if I receive my quarterly statement for them with showing those gains, and I can enter comments of some type, some kind. Investment value change, Q1, okay? And here I then now have to decide what account am I going to wind up crediting for that, okay? I can type in investments. We notice that I've got my Lynn Schwab investment income, all right? But the choice, folks, is yours. All right. I have received income. I can credit the Lynn Schwab investment income if I want to see that on my treasurer's report. But I also like to make sure that everybody's aware that, notice, I can choose my investment fund balance if I don't want to show that on my treasurer's report as income. All right. You have to decide Is this type of change in value, whether it's stock or investments of any kind, is it money that you want to reflect on your treasurer's report or not? If I choose to choose my Lynn Schwab investment income, it's going to increase whatever fund that income is linked to. All right. So it's your choice. But we're going to say we're going to choose to post it directly to the fund. Our church does not consider that income because we haven't, taken any money out of our investment account. So maybe when we start, surrendering some of that investment money and gathering that, then maybe we would consider some of that income. But in this case, we're going to put the 875.22 and we're going to go ahead and post that, and it will now reflect on my balance sheet. So now when I go into, say, reports and export, financial balance sheet, not the fund activity report, Josh, balance sheet, and we're going to choose April. Oh, we're going to choose March because I did backdate that to March. And when we now go to print, we now notice that my Lynn Schwab investment of 100 is now showing 979.68.68, and we go down here near the bottom, my investment fund balance shows also the same equal balance of 79.68.68. Okay, but in this case again, folks, I have equally adjusted or changed or added money into both sides of my balance sheet. That's really the thing that you have to keep in mind about the adjust asset is you're essentially affecting both your assets side of the balance sheet and the bottom side through either income or expenses or posting directly to a fund or a liability itself directly. So when you're posting those debits and credits to the asset, you're equally posting a credit or debit to the balance sheet on the bottom side as well. Okay. So again, just a journal entry, folks. Okay. It forces you to choose an asset. If you don't want to affect an asset account, then don't use the adjust asset. All right. Maybe you just need to post an adjustment between your, between income and expense accounts or something. All right. 4s and 5s. If that's the case, then you have to go to use the regular journal entry transaction and you won't use adjust asset. It is literally as described, asset account and then some other account on the bottom side of your balance sheet. Okay. All right. So this wasn't a terribly long event. So that is where I am going to leave what I'm going to cover on that topic for today.